My name is Emma, and this is the story of how I trusted someone and how that trust broke me. I met Ryan on a cold evening in New Jersey. I was working at a small coffee shop near the train station, the kind of place where tired people stop before going home. Ryan came in every morning at the same time. Black coffee, no sugar. He always looked calm but lonely. At first, we only smiled. Then we started talking. Small conversations turned into long ones. He told me he worked in real estate, that he lived alone, that he had no family in this city. I believed him. After work, we walked together. We talked about dreams. He said he wanted a quiet life, a home filled with peace, and someone who truly understands him. That someone became me. He brought me coffee on my breaks. He waited for me after my shifts. He remembered everything I said. I felt special. I felt chosen. One night, he held my hand and whispered, "You are the best thing in my life." I trusted him completely. When he asked me to move in with him, I didn't hesitate. I left my small apartment. I left my safe world, and I moved into his life. I thought love had found me, but I didn't know that love was built on lies. At first, everything felt perfect, but slowly things changed. He came home late. He answered calls in another room. His phone was always locked. When I asked, he said I was overthinking. He said I should trust him, but my heart felt heavy. One evening, I followed him. He went to a hospital. I saw a woman holding a little boy. They ran to him. They hugged him like family. My body froze. I waited until he came out. I asked him who they were. He was silent. Then he told me the truth. He was married. The child was his son. Everything he told me was a lie. I felt my heart break slowly, painfully. "You used me," I cried. "I loved you." He said he was confused, that he loved me too. But love does not destroy like this. That night I packed my things and walked away. But the pain followed me. The days after I left, Ryan felt endless. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. Every sound reminded me of him. The coffee cup he used, the chair where he sat, the window we looked through together. I cried every night, sometimes without tears.
Just pain sitting in my chest.
I blamed myself. I asked why I was not enough, why he chose lies instead of truth. For a long time, I stayed in bed. I ignored phone calls. I avoided people. I felt ashamed, as if his lies were my fault. But one morning, something inside me changed. I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were tired. My face was pale. But I was still standing. I whispered, "You're still here." That small moment gave me strength. I decided to stop hiding. I called my sister. I told her everything. She listened, without judging. She said, "You loved deeply, and that is not a weakness." Her words stayed with me. Slowly, I began to rebuild my life. I went back to school. I studied in the evenings. Even when I felt tired, I found a better job, one where I felt respected, where my voice mattered. Each small step made me stronger. Some days were still hard. I missed the person I thought Ryan was, but I no longer missed the lies. I learned that love should feel safe, not confusing, not painful. Months passed. One morning, I smiled without forcing it. For the first time in a long time, I realized something important. I was not broken. I was healing. Ryan did not define my story. He was only one chapter. The rest of my life was still waiting. Now, when I look forward, I see hope. I see strength. I see a woman who chose herself. And that woman is me. A year passed. Life slowly found its rhythm again. The mornings felt lighter. The nights felt calmer. I moved into a new apartment, a small place with sunlight through the windows, a place that felt like mine. I decorated it with soft colors, plants, books, quiet music. For the first time, I was building a life for myself. One evening, while walking home from work, I passed the same coffee shop where I met Ryan. I stopped for a moment. My heart felt tight, but not broken anymore. I smiled softly and kept walking. I understood something important. Not all love stories end with happiness, but they still teach us how to grow. Later that year, I started volunteering, helping women who felt lost, just like I once did. I listened to their stories. I reminded them they were not alone. And in helping others, I healed even more. One day, I received a message from Ryan. Just one sentence. "I'm sorry for everything." I read it. I felt the past rise again, then fade. I did not reply. Some doors are better left closed. That night, I stood by my window, watching the city lights. I whispered, "I choose peace. I chose honesty. I choose myself." And for the first time in my life, I felt truly free. Time continued to move forward, not fast, not slow, but gently like a quiet river. The pain that once lived in my heart slowly softened. It no longer controlled my thoughts. It no longer defined my days. I began to understand something deep. What happened to me was not the end of my story. It was the beginning of my strength. I stopped asking why Ryan lied. I stopped searching for answers that would never heal me. Instead, I focused on the life in front of me. I started waking up early, walking in the park, listening to birds, breathing fresh air. These small moments became my peace. At work, I grew confident. I spoke up. I trusted myself. My boss noticed my dedication. I was promoted. For the first time, I felt proud of myself. I made new friends, people who listened, people who cared. We shared coffee, laughter, and dreams. Sometimes, I still felt sad, but now, sadness passed. It no longer stayed. One evening, I sat alone with a journal. I wrote down everything I had learned. That love should never make you feel small. That truth is the foundation of real connection. That self-respect is not selfish. It is necessary. I forgave Ryan, not for him, but for me. Forgiveness released the heavy weight inside my heart. I no longer carried anger, only understanding. One day, I met a woman at the park. She was crying quietly. I sat beside her and listened. She told me her story, a story of betrayal, of broken trust. I held her hand and said, "You will survive this, and you will be stronger." And in that moment, I realized my pain had turned into purpose. I was no longer the woman who waited for love. I was the woman who created it within herself. As the sun set, I closed my eyes and felt peace. I smiled because now I knew I was whole again. Another year passed. The seasons changed, and so did I. The girl who once cried herself to sleep was now a woman who greeted the morning with calm. I moved forward without fear, without looking back. I traveled for the first time, small trips, new places, new faces. Each journey reminded me that the world was still full of life. One afternoon, I stood by the ocean, watching the waves rise and fall. I felt something I had not felt in a long time. Freedom. I whispered. I survived, and I am still here. I no longer needed apologies.